Tail of the tape here, Ahmedov, the younger man, 10 years younger at age 23. He's taller by 2 inches, and he has a very slight reach advantage.
And we begin round number 1. And Doug, it'll be interesting to see if the weight advantage, if you want to call it that, for Escalante plays much of a factor here against Ali Ahmedov.
Yeah, it remains to be seen if that extra poundage will be an advantage. Like I said, he doesn't really have the frame to carry 190 pounds. Ahmedov actually does. He does have that kind of bone structure. Definitely looks like the professional athlete of the two.
Ahmedov last month was at Legends. They actually got in some rounds with Dimitri Bivol. Talk about that later. I believe Cynthia Conte has someone lined up. Cynthia, talk to us.
Hey, Beltran here, watching some fights, you know, just kicking back. And you're a new champ. You got the belt and you have a fight in 2 weeks, correct?
Yeah, 2 weeks, almost. Yeah, August 25th, so we're almost there.
You're almost there. You ready? Are you ready?
Yeah, we're ready. We're anxious right now already. It's time. We're on the stage where we just want to go and fight already, you know?
Yeah, well, you know, you're on a little break. You get to watch some fights. Did you get to watch any of the fights earlier?
Oh, yeah, I did. I just, it was a good fight, you know? I came to see my boy, AB Lopez.
Yeah. Did you see Deckman earlier? Oh, no, AB, well, they train out of wild card also.
Yeah, you know, I got here late, you know, I just barely make it. Yeah.
LA traffic?
LA traffic, I was training, but the traffic kind of messed it up.
Yeah. Okay, when you saw AB, because he thanked you in the ring for sparring and you helped him get prepared for this fight, what did you see in the fight?
No, he did good. You know, he did really good. He fought a guy, this tough guy, you know, and I know him because I sparred with both of them in the gym, you know. So they're both good fighters, you know. It was a good test for AB, but I think for both of them, you know what I mean? It was a good fight.
All right, well, I'll let you get back to fights because I hear it's loud. I love thunder sounds. All right, well, back to you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Cynthia, thank you very much. And Ray Beltran takes on Jose Pedraza late August for the WBO lightweight title. Pretty good round here for Ali Ahmedov against Escalante, who at times, as he is now, going to the southpaw stance.
Yeah, he's crafty in there, and you know, I would say that Escalante moves pretty well for a guy with a roly-poly sort of physique. But the round has been under the command of Ahmedov. He's had a nice quick jab. He's landed the power punches, mainly his right hand. He's also landed some nice left hooks to the body. But Escalante's pesky.
Yeah.
He's not putting any power behind his punches, but he is able to reach out and just kind of put hands on Ahmedov.
And that's the end of round number 1. And Ahmedov goes back to the red corner. He'll be instructed by Abel Sanchez. And Doug, I talked to Abel about his thoughts on Ahmedov, and he made it very clear. He wants him to be a more offensive fighter. He says, bottom line, if you don't throw punches, you're not going to belong in my gym. And in the past, Ahmedov was at the Mayweather gym, and you know, that philosophy over there is a little bit more defensive.
It is different.
Yeah.
We should also note that Ahmedov was an amateur standout, and even Gennady Golovkin, the current form that we're used to seeing from Golovkin, that took a couple of years for Abel Sanchez to foster in him. Golovkin's amateur style was not the same as his professional style. That is something that does take time.
Yeah, and speaking of Golovkin, Max Golovkin is right there in the corner as one of the seconds for Ahmedov.
Yeah, I believe Max Golovkin is like a co-manager for Ahmedov. Steve, I read your story on tonight's card in Ahmedov that was on UCN Live. And you had a nice scouting report from Ryan Scalia.
Oh, King Hipster.
Yeah, well, you know, Ryan Scalia's seal of approval.
That means something.
Yes, it does.
It really does.
because he hasn't just seen the pro bouts, he's seen the amateur bouts.
He's probably seen their first fight at a playground in Kazakhstan in the 4th grade.
And he knows who the opponent was. He knows who the other guy was.
You know, if you ask Ryan Scalia for a top 10 Kazakhstan 18 and under southpaws, he will give you that list. Speaking of the light heavyweight division, and that's what Akhmedov is, even though he is fighting technically as a cruiserweight tonight. Doug, I was surprised but not stunned by Kovalev Alvarez. I thought when Marcus Brown was replaced by Alvarez that
much tougher fight.
It was a much tougher fight.
I viewed it as a 50-50 matchup. So folks that are bettors, I think Storm Alvarez was a good bet. Undefeated guy, the more athletic, the quicker hands, but also the bigger fighter.
And sturdy.
Yes.
Very, very
take
sturdy.
The power. A lot of fighters, a lot of world-class light heavyweights would have wilted under the assault that Crusher put forth in rounds 4 and 6. Yeah. But Alvarez kept his composure. He remained game, and he remained confident. You saw the confidence throughout that fight.
And there is a rematch clause, and all indications are that the Crusher will enforce it. As Akhmedov has Escalante in the corner. The one thing about Escalante, looks can be deceiving. He's pretty good at nullifying and defending himself. Not really providing much of an offensive threat, but he is hanging in there.
And he's boxing well from the southpaw stance. And he moves just enough. He defends well.
And Doug, I thought B-Ball got some interesting developmental rounds. No one looks good against Isaac Chilemba.
No. Nobody's looked good against Chilemba yet. And B-Ball wasn't the fighter to break that mold. But he got 12 rounds of experience, and that's exactly what he needs. He's the young gun of the elite light heavyweights at age 27.
Yeah.
And, he only has 14 pro fights.
And the one thing that was learned, though, is there's still some developing to do. I think B-Ball still needs to be a little bit more comfortable inside the pocket.
Exactly. He's not a complete fighter yet. He has good outside game. He's a good athlete. Obviously, he had a good amateur background. Good legs, educated jab, but he needs to add some pro wrinkles to that game. We're seeing some pro wrinkles from Akhmedov. I like his punch selection.
And that's the end of round number 2. We are scheduled for 6. This is our main event here at the Avalon in Hollywood. Hollywood Fight Nights brought to you by 360 Promotions. And Doug, a lot of stuff going on at 175. October 6th, Artur Beterbiev defends his IBF title against Callum Johnson. And this is a very interesting fight. I believe it's going to happen November 3rd for the WBC belt. Adonis Stevenson takes on the nail, Alexander Gavozic.
Yes, that's interesting, and that's for a long time, Stevenson was avoiding any kind of challenge, including his #1 contender, Eleider Alvarez, for at least 2 years. But his last fight was against the top 10 guy. That was Badou Jack, and he was. Some say he was lucky to get the draw in that fight. I thought the draw was actually fair, but this was a WBC mandatory that he took, and Gavozic is a dangerous opponent.
Speaking of Badou Jack, I looked at the rankings. Badou Jack is #1 in the WBA. If you could get a Badou Jack B-Ball fight done, I think that certainly would please a lot of boxing fans. The shame of the Kovalev losses, Doug, they had December 8th earmarked as that all-Russian shootout between Bivol and Kovalev. Of course, Alvarez had other plans. We begin round number 3 here. Akhmedov in the black and silver against Escalante, who had about a 13-14 pound advantage after blowing the weight, the contracted weight of 177 at the weigh-in yesterday.
The great thing about the 175-pound division is it's very strong in the top 5 or 6, and I'm happy with any one of those matchups. I'm happy with a Kovalev-Alvarez rematch. I'd be happy with Alvarez Perez versus Bivol. That's a great unification bout. If Beterbiev can get past Callum Johnson, and you know, people think he will, although Johnson is dangerous early in that fight. He's right there in the mix as the IBF belt holder. Badou Jack is still in there in the mix. And it's, you know, if Stevenson wants to step up to the plate and actually fight real guys, he makes for entertaining fights.
Yeah. And here right in front of us, Ahmedov seems to be ramping up the activity just a little bit, letting his hands go.
But he's not loading up too much with those punches. It's a good punch selection. I like the poise. I like the pace that he's fighting at. The pace that he's fighting at, he's winning these rounds, but he's not tiring himself out. I like the body shots, and I think that's what he's going to have to do. Escalante can see the right hands coming. Well, if Ahmedov can be sneaky and dig the rights to the body and some hooks to the body, I think that's the way to hurt Escalante.
Right hand to the body by Ahmedov.
We're pronouncing his last name differently. Is it Ahmedov or Ahmedov? Doesn't matter?
Yeah, it doesn't really.
We'll just chant, Ali, Ali.
Oh, good left hook. That seemed to hurt Escalante in a right hand.
That's a knockdown.
And it sends him down in the corner. Zach Young administering the mandatory 8 count. So Ahmedov has begun to open up here in round number 3 on Escalante.
He made things happen once he started putting those punches together. And let's see how he scored this knockdown. And you're going to see him. See, that was a hook cross hook combination, and the hook hurt him first, and he landed that hook during an exchange right there. That's what hurt him. And then I think he goes down on the right hand. But it was the putting together of those punches. Hook cross, hook cross, hook cross that got the job done. To stay